Welcome to In the Nook with Sofia on the Sofia Show. Today I'll be reading Who Was Rosa Parks? And the author is Yona Zeldis McDonough. I always need my glasses and my bookmark. Let's start reading. Who was Rosa Parks? Pine Level, Alabama, 1919. Every morning, Rosa Parks walked to school. Every afternoon, she walked back home again. There was no school bus to her school. She didn't mind the walk. She was used to it. Often she saw a big yellow bus roll past her. But the bus never stopped for her. All the children inside were white. It was taking them to school that was for white students only. Rosa was black. Rosa grew up in Pine Level, Alabama. At that time in the South, black people and white people led separate lives. All of Rosa's friends and family were black. She hardly knew any white people. How could she? Black people weren't allowed in the same restaurants or hotels. They couldn't swim in public pools with white people or drink from the same water fountains. Every time she saw a bus carrying white children to and from school, it made her feel like black children didn't matter as much as white children. Sometimes the white children threw trash out the windows, trying to hit the black children. After a while, Rosa and the black children stopped walking by the road. They went through the fields instead. The school for the white children was nicer too. It had real glass panes in the windows. At Rosa's school, there was no glass, only shutters. Still, Rosa knew inside that she was as good as any white child. She was as good as anyone, and one day she would prove it. Chapter 1, Down the Farm. Rosa Lewis McCauley was born in Tuskegee, Alabama, on February 4th, 1913. Her father, James, was a carpenter. Her mother, Leona, was a teacher. Rosa was small for her age. She was often sick with a sore throat. She had to spend a lot of time in bed. When Rosa was about 2.5, her mother and father separated. Rosa moved to Pine Level, just outside Montgomery, Alabama. There she lived on her grandparents' farm with her mother and her little brother, Sylvester. She liked the farm. With her family around, she felt safe and secure. Beyond the farm, the world was not such a safe place. Some white people living nearby belonged to a group called the Ku Klux Klan. They wore white robes and hoods to cover their faces. Many times Klan members set fire to houses where black people lived or churches where they prayed. The police did nothing to stop the attacks. The Ku Klux Klan, or KKK, as it is known, is a hate group that uses threats and violence against blacks and other minorities. The name probably came from the Greek word kuklos, meaning circle. The Ku Klux Klan was a circle or band of brothers. Tennessee veterans of the Confederate Army founded the Klan after the Civil War ended in 1865. Groups soon spread throughout the South. Klan members wore white robes and pointed hats with masks to hide their faces. Often, they left burning crosses in the front of the victim's house. During the 1920s, when Rosa was a child, the Klan spread throughout the country. At one point, there were about 4 million members in the United States. Today, that number is about 5,000. When Klan members marched by Rosa's house, her grandfather stood at the door. He held a shotgun in his hand. Some nights he slept in a rocking chair, the shotgun in his lap. Rosa often stayed curled up beside him. Even whites who didn't belong to the Ku Klux Klan could be cruel. A wealthy planter named Moses Hudson would hire black children to pick and chop cotton. He paid them 50 cents a day. The children usually didn't wear shoes, and the hot ground burned their bare feet so badly that they would pick the cotton on their knees. If any blood got on the white cotton, they would be whipped. Jim Crow laws. In the southern United States from 1876 to 1965, Jim Crow laws kept segregation, separation of blacks and whites in public facialities. Blacks could not buy houses in white neighborhoods or eat at the same restaurants as white people. They even had to bring their clothes to all black laundromats. The term Jim Crow probably comes from minstrel shows of the late 1800s. White men would wear blackface makeup and make fun of African Americans. Jim Crow was the name of a character in minstrel show skits. Even so, Rosa did not mistrust all white people. There was an old white woman in Pine Level who used to take her bass fishing. This woman was kind and polite to Rosa and her grandparents. She treated them as equals. There was a white soldier who always patted her on the head whenever he came through town. Even a small gesture like this was unusual. As she grew older, Rosa began to pity the whites who called her names or threw rocks at her. She wanted to forgive, not hate, people who insulted her. Much of the time, Rosa was happy in Pine Level. She loved school. She couldn't wait for each day to begin. She enjoyed Mother Goose nursery rhymes, playing hide and seek with her friends, and looking after her younger brother. She liked to explore the woods, creeks, and ponds near the farm, but she was always careful to avoid poisonous snakes. For extra pocket money, she sold eggs to the neighbors. Sometimes she wandered into the local cemetery. Some of the tombstones dated back to the Civil War. At the end of the Civil War in 1865, slavery ended. From then on, it was against the law for a person to own another person. Some of Rosa's grandparents had been slaves. Now, even though they were poor and often mistreated, Rosa's family was free. Brown versus Board of Education. As a black child living in the South, Rosa Parks could not attend school with white children. Then in 1954, a group of black parents in Topeka, Kansas, went to court to end school segregation, and school segregation. Their case is one of the most famous ever to come before the Supreme Court. The black parents were upset because the all-black school was over a mile away from their neighborhood. It was a long trip for young children. The all-white elementary school was very close by. It was unfair that children would not go there. Up to this point, the law said public schools could stay segregated as long as the black schools were as good as the white schools. But now the judges on the Supreme Court changed the law. From here on in, separate schools for black children and white children were illegal. Public schools had to be integrated. Black children could go to any public school they wished. What I learned in the book is that Rosa was a little black girl and all the white children were treated fairly, and the black children had to go to schools that weren't as good as the white schools. And there was a lot of segregation, and it was illegal for a black child to go to a white school. And I think that Rosa was very sad about that because it was unfair that black children had to work for white men and that they weren't treated fairly. And white people, they were treated like they were masters, and black people were treated like they were slaves. And it was very unfair. And when Rosa was a little girl, it was not okay that white people had to be treated better than black people. And a lot of black people had to suffer that. Okay, I hope you liked the book in the Nook with Sofia. I hope you'll join me again so I can read another book for you.